Hello and welcome to our B2B Practitioners Insights. I'm the founder of B2B Practitioners. My name is Anastasia. B2B Practitioners is a go-to-market boutique advisory for B2B tech companies. And today we have with us Sven Schumacher from Interprefy. Interprefy is a leading platform for real-time interpretation and an AI pioneer with its own AI interpretation engine. They have customers from Fortune 500 companies, and Sven has been with Interprefy for 5 years and took over as their head of marketing in 2024. He's a full-stack marketing leader and a front runner in applying AI inside the marketing. So part of go-to-market, obviously, that's what we're going to talk about today as well. So when Sven stepped into the leadership role, B2B Practitioners came on board for more than a year of marketing and leadership coaching, helping him prioritize, build the right team, create executive alignment. That's what's also going to be on the show. So we're going to unpack how that foundation has set Sven up for success, and then go deep on the actual, bringing AI into the go-to-market, into marketing, and doing it in the right order with the right people and the right guardrails. So welcome, Sven. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself first. What does Interprefy do, and tell us a little bit about your own journey.
Excellent. Anastasia, thank you very much. And Norman as well. It's a pleasure to be here. Obviously, I've got a good relationship with B2B practitioners, particularly Norman. But I'm Sven. As Anastasia mentioned, I'm based in South Africa with about 13 years of marketing experience behind me now. And I'm happily going to give away my age here, but I majored in e-commerce back before selling online was even a thing. So I've had a front row seat to the entire digital shift over the last couple of years. And over those years, I've worked across the board as well, from being an entrepreneur myself to B2B as well as B2C, which means I have seen pretty much a lot of all the angles that marketing can offer from every budget size and every kind of buyer. Today, I do lead the marketing at Interprefy. So that brings me to answer, what is Interprefy? As Anastasia already said, we are a real-time multilingual solution partner. And we're a global organization that helps people speak in different languages and to understand each other live in the moment with nothing that gets lost. Effectively, we offer remote simultaneous interpretation, AI speech translation, and live captions, all in one enterprise-grade offering and solution. The company itself was founded in 2014 by Kim Ludvigsen, and we essentially pioneered the remote interpretation space. To date, we have powered over 50,000 events since the inception of the company for the likes of the White House, UEFA, Google, GlaxoSmithKline, government intergovernmental summits where multi-nations are joining in one room, and one misleading or misunderstanding would lead to a diplomatic consequence. We've also helped out in medical settings where every word has to be exactly right. But one thing that gets me excited is that we have even translated an astronaut on the International Space Station back down to Earth.
Wow, that's amazing.
Essentially, it's one of the highlights, right? Working for a great company. Here's a number that explains why any of this matters around Interprefy. And I want to share this with everyone. Only 17% of the world understands English, but over 70% of people engage more when you speak to them in their own language. So for global businesses, language is no longer a cost line. It's actually seen as a growth lever. And that's exactly what we at Interprefy unlock at enterprise scale with security and professional services that Fortune 500 and regulated buyers demand. We're headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland, ISO 27001 certified, and we have end-to-end encryptions around all our solutions. As you would know, we deal with confidential information that needs to be highly secured across the board. So that's a little bit about myself and Interprefy, the company I work for.
Awesome. Sounds like a really super cool product to work for. Sven, maybe talk a little bit about when you became head of marketing, you brought B2B practitioners, so Norm, whom, by the way, I have forgotten to to introduce. He's our also co-founder of B2B practitioners and also currently CEO at Finway, a fintech company. And so he came in to actually support you. Maybe talk a little bit about why and what why he came on.
It's a good question. And to answer it honestly, I have to describe what I actually walked into. Interprefy was at that classic pivotal point, I would say, shifting from a startup to an established company. And anyone that has been through this transition knows it's deceptively hard because everything that you have in place aren't necessarily things that will sustain you. We had real high intent growth, but some of the foundations underneath it were not in place for the company to hold that growth. Small team, long list of gaps to fill from a foundation perspective within marketing, and me stepping up to provide strategic coordination for the first time at Interprefy. So that was a real shift to me. And essentially, I went from working in the department to working on the department. Okay. When this happened, it kind of triggered 3 questions that I genuinely did not have the answer to. Am I prioritizing the right things? Do I actually have the right team and the right shape of the team? I would say. How do I report and shape the strategic of the real data and not just gut feel? And more importantly, how do I defend and communicate this at a higher board and C level? Now here's the key choice. The instinct in that moment, and always anyone's instinct, mine including, is to hire more hands in my scenario, right? More execution capabilities and capacity. But I realized that was the wrong move. When you're the most senior marketing person in the room or the building, there's no one above you and no one beside you to pressure test your thinking. So in that situation of hiring more people, more hands would let you run faster. And if you're pointed in the wrong direction, speed is actually the last thing you want. I would say it's probably one of the most expensive mistakes new leaders actually make in doing this. It's confidently executing the wrong practices and priorities, but rolling us out at full speed. So I didn't need more capacity with the team. I needed altitude, right? I need a sparring partner, someone who had been in this exact seat across dozens of companies, who had no political stake in the answer, and genuinely who would tell me the truth rather than what I want to hear. Okay. And that's when I met Norman and got introduced to B2B practitioners, not to do more, but to make sure that the things I did or we did were the right ones. And this is where the relationship started. And it lasted over a year, Norman. Can you believe that? It was supposed to be for 6 months, but we really found value in what you provided. So, yeah.
Maybe from your perspective, what did you encounter when you joined Interprefy, when you helped Sven?
Yeah, the journey started a bit earlier because I had been talking to the CEO of the company of Interprefy a bit earlier, and we were discussing who's the right successor. And I was actually a big proponent of internal promotion. But the question was, it's always pretty hard, for the team, when you take someone out of the team and promote them, because suddenly a peer becomes a manager. But more importantly, for the other heads, respecting suddenly someone who they knew as an individual contributor, suddenly they would have to deal with them eye to eye. So I think that actually explains why a lot of the focus that we had was, how do you manage the stakeholders? How do you become aligned and respected in order to move in the right direction? And the other thing was obviously, rather than we needed to avoid or mitigate the risk that was just perceived, oh, Sven would be just an individual contributor, give him all the stuff. You have to really, okay, no, there is a lot of things that need to be fixed in a company. So what did we do? First, we took a lot of, we focused a lot on the stakeholder management, on the strategic alignment. We also focused a lot in how to set the priorities. As Sven said, I think, Sven, correct me wrong, but you were basically, I think, 3 people. And then we had to overhaul the complete team because there was a lot of turnaround. Actually, it helped. We spent a lot of thought, how should the team be composed without expending resources too much. Yeah, I think this was actually good. I don't take credits for the operational improvements because there Sven is one of the, I think, really hands-on superstars that I encountered. But it was really more like, hey, how do we measure it correctly? How do we change? How do we align? And how do we drive the strategic agenda for the company? Because at this inflection point, there was a general way we need to be rethought how the customer experience in the company is being delivered. Where there's lead generation, sales, account management, and so on. How can the overall value be created, and where should the focus be?
Is that also, Sven, from your perspective, like where B2B practitioners basically brought the biggest value? Customer journey, prioritization.
Yes, of course it is. And it was mainly also, I mean, a shift in how I think, all right, which is worth more than any single campaign because it compounds across every decision I've ever made since. And if you'd like, I can break this down into what actually changed. The first was learning to ask the right questions, right? As a new leader, you're flooded with things that you could look at. B2B practitioners and Norman helped me cut through the noise and stop asking, how do we do more, and start asking, what's the one thing that actually moves the needle, and what are we prepared to ignore to protect that? And these better questions led to better decisions in my tenure every single time. A second one was also looking at the right things. It's very easy for anyone in marketing to get seduced by vanity metrics, so to say. The numbers that look good in slides, but they don't actually change the business. The work trained my attention on signals that genuinely indicated health, and to ignore the ones that just felt good. Where you point your attention as a leader is where your team points theirs. And some of these narratives of how Norman helped me shape that team, handle the transitions and the movement of these teams as well, really helped trade this. And then I could probably say a third one, and this is a big one for me, was learning to look at marketing through a commercial lens, right? Not marketing for marketing's sake, but every decision viewed through one question. Does this drive the business forward commercially? That reframed and changed everything because it was also about the language that the board spoke. It's what made me able to articulate marketing's value to leadership in terms that they actually cared about: revenue, efficiencies, growth, instead of the impressions and activity, right? And when you change your own point of view and you sharpen those questions, look at the right things, and speak commercially to people above you, I did pick up that I stopped being seen as a person who runs campaigns, and started being seen as the commercial leader who happens to own marketing. And this is where B2B really helped me in that transition as well, is setting up that foundation, but more so also improving my career development, me as an individual, as a marketeer, as a professional. It actually changed the mindset in me. So, and that's a true, honest reflection on the year and a half that we spent together.
Yeah.
It's probably worthwhile giving a bit of the scope. So, because I remember when we also tried to figure out which leads are actually profitable, but maybe you can just tell the audience, because I think it's amazing. If I look at the team of 3 people, I think how many MQLs you actually generate across how many countries, because you're a truly global operation that is active across all continents. And it was super, super tough to really for us to understand at first which leads are valuable, what are the true conversion rates, or what is just due to the process. And you actually tackle a lot of things, which also culminate in the end in some of your AI projects. How many leads do you have right now? How many countries do you work in? that's probably good context for everyone.
Excellent. So from a B2B perspective, we've got a really good demand of inbound that comes through. From an MQL status, let's ignore contacts, but from an MQL status, we generate about 450 to 520 MQLs per month. Effectively, this is across 36 key global regions around the globe, of which the US, EU, as well as Middle East regions and Asia regions are our priority focus.
Oh, that's a lot. I mean, I don't know how they convert, obviously, but sounds like you need to route them correctly and qualify them further. So that sounds like a lot of work.
Of course, Anastasia, and the thing around this, and just to add to Norma's question there as well, is that we actually had an influx that was larger than that, probably about 100 and 150 more, right? But in the same breath, you do get the fluff, right, that we needed to iron out. We needed to make sure we can handle the volumes as well. If marketing do put down the pedal to the metal, and we improve as we go on with the growth. And effectively, some of the steps that we put in place contributes to what we have utilized from an AI perspective
Mhm.
in helping
That's
us assist.
That's a perfect segue to our next topic. So, AI and go-to-market. I mean, everyone now is trying to implement use cases and go-to-market, obviously trying to increase output, be more efficient, and also, reduce cost, right? So about what you actually put in place, what's working. So how did you implement AI in your marketing function? What are the use cases?
Okay, we've actually experimented with plenty and implemented plenty as well. So I'll try and be as specific as possible, because being specific is the only thing that's worth the audience listening's time at the moment. So let me give you 3 things that are genuinely live and actually delivering for us at the moment. The first is our AI SDR. Internally, we call him Brad. Yes, I used Brad, but Brad's the name. And Brad isn't a demo. He's actually been in a live environment for over a year now with Interprefy. And here's actually what he does. The moment that the lead comes in, he engages intelligently and fast, because time to engagement is everything with a inbound request. He creates a call with the specific individual. He then answers any questions that prospect might have on that call, and effectively asks qualifying questions that actually enhances the sales conversation once they get in contact with a human. He creates a deal and uses smart routing to send that specific deal to the right pipeline based on the type of company that has inquired with us and the inquiry type, and also to the right person. He does this actually quite fast, immediately, and quite accurately as well. In high sense of all of this, he also captures all of that data and turns it into interactive sales insights within our CRM, which we're using, which is HubSpot.
Cool. And
So-
is that just to clarify, is that like a cloud that you trained, or is it like what? Or can you name the provider? Did you buy an actual SDR agent? I mean, there's plenty different solutions out there, but would be curious to understand. Did you build it yourself, or did you buy something and train it?
No, excellent. We did not buy an out-of-the-box solution. We actually investigated that when we first started looking into the project, and it was quite limiting, right? You relying on API connections of what that out-of-the-box solution offers. So we've actually got an amalgamation of multiple tools and products that we are using to get Brad into a live environment. We have a back end, which is the actual core functionality of Brad, which is called VAPI. If those of you who want to explore it, please go ahead. VAPI. This is actually the backbone of Brad, where we put the intelligence layer in, where we enable the call scripts and the playbooks that he follows. We then utilize systems like Twilio, and Twilio is where we have our legal numbers that attaches to Brad in order for him to make the actual phone call on a technical basis. Once that call happens within Vapey, there's functionalities that we can actually extract sentiment and data from the call based on prompts through LLMs that plug into Vapey. We take that information and we plug it into N8N as well as make.com. Now, these two have two different functions for us, but effectively the same systems and what they're offering the market. Make.com is very nice for native integrations, people that are getting started with automation. But if you're familiar to the Vapier sphere and have a little bit of coding knowledge and want some more flexibility on what you can actually extract and what you want to do with that data, we're using another tool called N8N. And this allows us to pull the data from the call, analyze that data, apply intelligence behind it, run LLM models to investigate the companies, understand the sentiment of the call and how this went, pull that data directly into our CRM. The CRM we're using is HubSpot, as I've mentioned. And within the CRM, we have created custom properties based on the outputs that we receive from the call. Custom properties are then entered into workflow-based automations, which allows us to then put this through what we call smart routing. So based on the call, based on the AI intelligence research that is done on the prospect and the company and the type of inquiry, this gets branched amongst different business units within our organization, different pipelines, and those business units and pipelines also have teams that specify within the NALA region, EMEA region, and APAC regions. Based on IP time zones of where the individual is called, those get routed to an agent, or shall I say a sales resource, that is available within their time zone, and sometimes even a specific expert within that company's industry or field. A deal gets created within HubSpot, and the sales individual is assigned. And on the deal cards, we pull through all the information that is gathered from the intelligence layer, as well as the Brad call, and pull this into an insight tab for the salesperson to actually have a more engaging and fruitful discussion with the prospect. And the great thing about this is the prospect has also already had the first engagement with the brand within 5 to 10 minutes of actually submitting a contact us form, which is something that you would have to have a large human-based resource team in order to handle it for 450 inbounds, or should I say MQLs that get created per month. I hope that answers the question a little bit better.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm curious to hear, actually, did you have any feedback from people that the AI SDR was calling? Because I'm always curious to hear, because here in Germany, I feel like people are very skeptical around an AI calling you and trying to qualify you. But I've listened to some of the examples and they're really, really good already. But I haven't actually, I haven't had a company that has implemented that already.
Excellent.
At
I'll ask Brad to give you a call.
Norm, are you also using AI SDRs?
I think it depends a bit on, you need a certain minimum volume. But I think, Sven, you explained very much what we did. I think we need to zoom out because we first looked at the challenges that we had. So we looked, like I said, on the conversion rate, and one of the things that turned up is there a lag in the sales process that made leads artificially look bad? Or is it really that we had a differentiator in the lead quality when we thought about a marketing budget and how to allocate paid search, paid social, and so on? We came to the conclusion that there was a gap in the sales process and the customer experience that was delivered between when the leads came in, when there finally would be a follow-up. We figured that quite a number of leads would never get a call. Another ones, they would be very much late. And so that's how Sven and I actually zoomed in, okay, we need to do something there. And then I think Sven went through quite a number of additions. So I remember we experimented with Synflow, then you had tested a couple of other tools. We also tested, does it work for outbound? But I think the difference between inbound and outbound, when we looked at it, is in inbound, you have a name. So you can call the number and you can say, hello, this is Brad. Actually, you have to tell me, are you identifying Brad as an AI assistant, or are you saying just, hey, I'm Brad from Interprefy? But if you do an outbound, it gets a bit awkward. And Sven actually had me call. And then it suddenly, because you don't know who you have on the line, it starts basically, who am I talking to? And that's really awkward. That makes people suspicious. So we actually figured out in the process, it's actually a lot easier to use it for inbound lead qualification. And we postponed the outbound. But Sven, just for the listeners, do you identify Brad as an AI agent, or how do you frame this towards the clients or the prospect?
Yes, of course. Norman, it's one of the first lines within Brad's greeting. It is something that we find is ethical. Number one is to announce that you are actually speaking with an AI agent. We do have instances, actually funny enough, where people hear what Brad is saying, that he is an AI sales agent from Interprefy. And what will happen is they'll continue the entire conversation with not acknowledging what he initially said. And right at the end, they will congratulate him and say, hold on, this was really great call. I have to ask, are you an AI agent or not? And obviously from there, he has full disclosure built within his guardrails and rules to disclose that he is AI. It's imperative in today's market that we are transparent about these as well, because with the movement in AI, you have two camps, right? One camp that is for it and the other camp that's completely against it. We do see that we get customers or prospects that are calling, that Brad is calling in, and sometimes they just want to speak to a human. And at the end of the day, Brad attempts to acknowledge that they want to speak to the human, but this is discovery calls. We see that around 40% of them actually acknowledge that and continue the call with Brad. But we do get the 60% volume that does not want to talk to an AI agent. They still want to engage with the human. And that is where we then push them on directly to the sales resource, so to say.
Okay.
So we do classify that. I think it's imperative for anyone that is out there looking at building these type of tools.
Yeah, that's a great use case, actually. Not just because there's a lot of obviously customer success cases within AI and go-to-market, but yeah, inbound qualification, that's really cool. What else? So Norm also mentioned that you have been super successful in implementing generative engine optimization as well. So talk a little bit about that use case.
Excellent. And this is one I'd really pay attention to, because most marketeers wouldn't have woken up to this as yet. Yes, we are seeing the change and everyone's discovering why they see anomalies in web traffic and how buyer behavior is changing, right? But this is fundamentally the AEO, previously GEO, or any other acronyms that are still floating out there within the market. But getting found in these AI answers with the engines, and not just Google. But I mentioned now in the opening is buyer behavior is fundamentally changing, right? Marketeers are seeing this. People are now making decisions before they've ever engaged with your brand. Norman and Anastasia, we do it ourselves by asking LLMs, all right? So we've deployed certain strategies in place in a market that is still fairly unknown, right? Or should I say a playbook or a GTM that's still fairly unknown around how do you optimize for this new environment? Because effectively it's changing the landscape of what the Google ecosystem natively stood for us. But we've got some golden nuggets that I would be happy to share to listeners here today as well. Is what we have seen drive the biggest result, and I'm going to start with the biggest first, is that we are in a position where we have to make sure that we are speaking the actual AI's language. AI itself currently speaks very much in Markdown, .md for those that want to get a little bit more technical and dive into it. So as marketeers, what we've done is we've developed Markdown version of our website and our knowledge base. And that's the language that AI actually reads. So it's clean, it's structured, it's machine legible content, and an AI can actually parse this and cite it. This has allowed us to get our brand sentiment, our content, our messaging and positioning into these LLM engines by providing them the easiest way to communicate with us. And that's through the .md file. So we've taken the entire website and turned this into language. This does not look pretty once anyone dives into it, but this is all happening on the back end of the domain. But essentially now, when these LLMs are scouring, it's very quick, it's very efficient, it's in their language, so they understand this a lot better.
So just to clarify, you've created the MD file of your whole website, and where did you put it? So how does that work with, tell us a bit about that.
So effectively what we've done is we've created a subdomain linked to the main domain, which is the .com, interprefy.com. And what we have done is we've actually utilized a tool, funny enough. There's a South African business owner. He's the owner of Mo Digital Agency as well, Luke. And he had a specific tool that we were after in order to scale this production, right? So first of all, you create yourself a subdomain, okay? ai.b2bpractitioners.com. And that subdomain is effectively not a front-end website that looks great, but it's pure Markdown text that the LLM reads, but it's still linked to your main domain for citing. We then came into a bit of a bottleneck where, how do you scale this? So you cannot do this for every single content piece that you place onto your website, because then you would have to create another MD file, etc. And we thought about building agents, etc. But there's a site that, if you are interested in having a look at this and how you can scale it, Luke's product is called getmd.ai. So effectively, this plugs our website into getmd.ai, analyzes our website for new content production on an hourly basis. The minute we add raw content to our existing website, this tool actually runs it and creates the MD file for us and automatically posts that onto our subdomain. So that means that the LLM has consistently got refreshed and updated content that we are publishing in a live environment, but now making this readable for the LLMs in their language.
And how do you know that this was successful in improving your visibility in the LLMs?
Excellent question. Before we go there, I would just like to add one more little key part of what we've added to that, is we have also had a look at our schema markup on our website. Many of you will know that schema markup does help with discoverability. So we've also optimized our schema markup and improved that in order to aid both the MD files versions of the website, but also on the core website, what does our schema markup look like? So the results tell the story, Anastasia, in my opinion, and where this market is going. So I'll give you an example. We deployed this towards the latter half of January. So let's just say middle of Q1. Okay. Our AI-driven traffic has increased by 70% since January. Although our raw website traffic is down, and a lot of marketers are seeing this specifically from direct traffic and SEO capabilities or channels, this is down. But one of our main channels, and probably going to be the greatest channel story that we tell as marketeers in Interprefy at the end of the year, is going to be our AI referral channel. So we've seen web traffic increase by 70% from doing these type of deployments. And this is all citing directly from the schema markup that we put in place, but more so converting the website into the Markdown, or should I say the .md versions of it.
Nice. So Norm, you know what to do for Finway. Have you done it already? Did you try?
So we adopted some of the best practices, but I think going a step out, it's really important to do the strategy part first. So I think I alluded to this already when Sven had described what he did on the inbound qualification side via the AI SDR. There was a step before, and I think it's really crucial not to jump into tools right now. I see this too often, but to really spend the thought in this case. And I know we still have work to be done on the product marketing side, but it's really important to understand the buyer journey. How do people actually buy? How do people actually search and so on? Yes, intake, engine optimization is important. Volumes for Finway are a lot smaller than in the Interprefy space for the keywords. We also focus on just one market. So a lot of what we have to do based on a process is top of funnel, explaining the need, whereas which discounts or shifts a bit the priority of what we have to do on the Finway side. I just want to emphasize again, Sven talks a lot about the things that that he implemented. Don't forget about the step before. So we really spend a lot of time. What's the buyer journey? Who are involved in the decision process? Who do I need to talk to? What's the right messaging? Yes, there's still a lot to do because let's not forget in this time frame when we work together, Interprefy launched their completely autonomous AI interpretation solution. So it was continuously a struggle of where to put the resources. So I would actually break it down if I think about the success that Sven and his team have achieved. So I think the first one was really think about a strategy. Secondly, think about the people. So he brought in the right people. So a lot of this wouldn't have been possible if he hadn't brought in, I forgot the name. What was it? Was it Nick or? So you need to have the people who actually have an acumen, want to make a difference in implementing things. The builders who know how to do this. And third aspect is strategy and alignment with the other stakeholders so that everyone supports it. Probably, I would say 2 or 3 months just aligning with the leadership team at Interprefy that Brad is the way to go. So I think that's super. I think those 3 elements are the foundation of the success that we are now seeing.
Yeah.
Great. You already answered my next question. What needs to be in place before? So we heard strategy, knowing your ICP, right? Brad needs to know whom to call and what to say, messaging, positioning, and also aligning the organization, bringing in the right people. So maybe also talk a little bit about what needs to be in place in the organization to make this happen, in terms of skills as well, mindset, and so on.
Yeah, Anastasia, as Norman said, I mean, this is one of the fundamental parts that B2B Practitioners helped myself and get the structure in within Interprefy, right? Because, the question I wish more people asked was exactly what Norman just said. And I wish they asked us before they brought the tool in, because most AI failed projects doesn't fail because of the AI. They failed at the foundation underneath us. Okay? And AI for me inherits your qualities. You are prompting it. You are designing it. You're feeding it the data. So before you deploy anything, I believe that, as Norman has mentioned now as well, there are 4 things that need to be in place. And I can list these for you as well. But in the same breath, we don't want to ever be in a situation where you have a shiny tool, but there's no proven track record, or you do not have the foundation set up in order to do this. With B2B practitioners helping us with the setup and what Norman has assisted with, we had that foundation of the team. We understood we had the right people in the fit. We knew we had the builders, we had the critical thinkers, we had the processes and experience that we needed to run the functionality of the AI, because it inherits your quality, as I've said. So if I had to give 4 points, so to say, on what you need to have in place in order for AI to reliably work is, and I've learned from this the hard way, right? I actually, funny enough, I deployed Blair and had a look into Synflow while Norman and I were going through the changes, while B2B practitioners were advising. So this is coming from first-hand experience now, and I've paid my school fees, as we say in South Africa. But number one, what I found was very imperative is clean data. AI runs on your data. If your data is messy or living in the wrong place, AI doesn't quietly work around it. It confidently scales that mess, okay? When we rebuilt our inbound data, I found things I'd assumed were fine. Our country fields weren't where I thought they were. Our ideal customer profile fields were sitting in empty across accounts that mattered the most. None of this actually showed up until I built on top of it, right? And this is what Norman and I were working towards developing. And this actually started showing up everywhere. So clean data isn't the boring prerequisite. I think it's actually the entire game around deploying AI into a GTM strategy. Number 2 is find the resources that understand the processes. But more so importantly, if you can't, or you have teams in place already, make sure you have clear processes in place. AI automates a process. It doesn't actually invent one at all. If your handoffs from marketing and sales is held together with good intentions and a few minimal steps, automating it just means you've automated that chaos, right? You have to be able to draw the process on a whiteboard before you can actually hand this over to a machine. So that's another learning that I have. Number 3, and rightfully Norman also mentioned this, and it's important, defining your ICP and sharpening your messaging. AI executes at scale against whatever you point at it. So if you have a messy ICP, you don't get 1 or 2 failed attempts or wasted emails. You'll get thousands. Precision in, precision out. Vagueness in, noise out. Right? So that is highly important to identify your real hot pockets. And then only number 4, which is something I started with at the beginning, is the right tooling. And I've left this deliberately last because, like me, everyone wants to start here. The tool is actually the easiest part, but it's never the thing that makes or breaks the actual AI deployment. The foundation is. So my honest message to leave any leader that is about to deploy AI into their GTMs, the fundamentals aren't afterthoughts you fix once the AI is actually running. They are the precondition to get the system running. Get them right and the AI will become rocket fuel for your GTMs. Skip them and you would have built, in my opinion, something very expensive and very fast at doing the wrong thing.
That's a perfect summary. I've just today I've talked to a founder of a company that provides signals for outbound, and they the founder said, yeah, actually our customers have no idea what they're doing outbound on, so they don't know their ICP, they don't know what to write, like they're positioning their messaging and so on. So and then they blame the tool, right? So yeah, that's a classic one. So Norm, maybe you can also talk a little bit about our 5 agent model that we are currently testing at a couple of companies that we're working with. And I think, one point there is also that actually first you need to clean up your CRM data, and that is one of the best use cases actually where AI can do that for you. So you don't need to manually go into and fix everything, right? But then on top of that, there's some excellent agents that you can deploy.
Yeah, sure. I think it aligns some of the points that Sven already touched on. So I would say the most important one is probably let's call it data quality, but could be research enrichment. So basically the person that actually ensures that the data you have, that you can deal with it. Sven, what I liked about your model is that everything goes back into HubSpot, that you ensure that HubSpot has the right data. Would be interesting to know whether you actually also run something to regularly have your existing HubSpot data cleaned up, so that you basically, someone who checks it, is it still up to date? Because there might be a lot of outdated contact details and so on in there. Like I said, data quality research agent, probably the foundation. Then I would say easiest, that's probably what most people do, the content agent. By the way, I saw a really, really amazing presentation by Veronica Wax from Nutty's Festival, where she basically said what she had put in place that's pretty close to best practice. Moritz Bellina at Pincilla implemented something similar where you can literally run almost all the content creation automatically. That's probably what most companies do right now. The third one is the AI SDR agent. Can actually do it for outbound, but probably not with outbound calling. You have to basically probably rely on more on email and other messages. Sven with his AI inbound agent, great example. 4 is the conversion lifecycle agent, the lead scoring, the routing, the nurturing, deciding who should get it. I think, Sven, in a way, you deploy this as well because you have an automatic algorithm that decides, okay, should the enterprise team get the lead? Should the public government sector get the lead? Or should the lead be just worked by marketing until they finally say, hey, yes, we're going to buy on our own? And the last one is obviously the insight and optimization agent. That's where a lot of the organizations are focused on. AI clearly is much better than humans at measuring, at reporting. So that's why in the Silicon Valley, I'm currently in San Francisco, a lot of people talk about the death of the measurers. You don't need as many measurers in an organization anymore if AI can do this for you. So just to repeat, research and enrichment agent, content agent, DR agent, conversion lifecycle agent, and the insight optimization agent, they should work together. I would always start with a quality agent and then think about what to do. Although the insights and optimization agent is probably highest or top of mind for a lot of people, that one is also the one that presupposes the most that the data that they get are absolutely accurate.
Perfect. Thank you. So we're almost at the end. So Sven, maybe you can give, if you can give one piece of advice for founders and go-to-market leaders who want to start their journey. You already said start with the fundamentals, but anything else that you would like to add?
Automate a broken motion. I think that's my one-liner. The instinct everyone has is to reach for AI to fix a problem. Okay. But if the process, the data, and the positioning underneath it are broken, AI doesn't fix any of that. It makes the brokenness faster, bigger, and more expensive. You don't get a solution, you get your existing problem, but at scale. So the mistake to avoid is falling in love with the tool before you've earned the right to use it. The shiny demo is seductive, and I did this. The shiny demo is seductive, but the tool is never what breaks the actual model or the project itself. And my single biggest unlock is that I got disciplined about the fundamentals before I got excited about the technology. And that's what I would unblock if I had to redo this. Fix the foundations first. Clean the data, clear priorities, sharp ICP, then let the AI scale. Do it in that order, as the order that Norman just shared with us, because I absolutely love that breakdown there, Norman, because it articulates something that we have in our minds, but onto a clear pattern for us. Do it in that order, and AI possibly becomes the most powerful lever that you have ever had. Do it in the wrong order, and it becomes the most expensive mistake you've ever made. Get the foundation right and let the AI fly. That's what I would like to leave everyone with.
That sounds like a perfect ending. Norm, do you want to add something? Maybe talk also a little bit about what the foundations are. Ideal customer profile, we already heard. Positioning, messaging.
What Sven said, I can only lose. So I can only dilute the message. But I would again stress the importance of doing the homework first. So what I call the strategic layer. So really understand your product marketing fundamentals, understand your go-to-market strategy, understand your priorities, and then put everything beneath it. So basically the implementation. And again, don't forget about the people. You need the right people. You need the people who who understand what they want to implement, who understand the importance of the strategy and bring it home. So I think in that sense, what Interprefy has accomplished during this time is actually really, really amazing, because it was with all the setbacks that we had meticulously implemented. And setbacks, I mean, particularly people turnover that we had, that where you had to find new people. And I think we're in a really, really good place. So congrats, Sven. Really impressed.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank you
very
so
much, Norman.
much for being here, Sven. Thanks a lot for sharing in such great detail the use cases that you put into place. I think everyone will run and test it out themselves, especially the SDR one. I'm thinking actually we should do that for B2B practitioners. Thank you. I think the one message that you can take away is strategy first, tools second. I think that's what the key message here is. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you both for having me. Thank you for the guidance that you've provided for myself and for what it's done for Interprefy as well. I'll never forget that. B2B practitioners also played a fundamental role here. So we thank both of you as well for that guidance, because
Thank
otherwise
you.
we might still be on the flashy tool.